Well, here we go again. West Virginia is rated dead last in Phil Steele's preseason magazine. I'm pissed off.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host here. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking Mountaineer football and we're talking Phil Steele. And when it comes to Phil Steele, I take it pretty damn seriously. Brought to you by FanDuel. Right now on FanDuel, you can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, but you can't win if you don't play. Head over to FanDuel.com today to get started. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day. If you didn't know, now you know. Phil still has West Virginia ranked dead last in the preseason conference rankings. And I want to dive into this a little bit. So as I pull up the list here for Phil Steele's Big 12 predictions for the 2025 season, I'm also going to, on the fly here, we can pull up Phil Steele's X profile. I meant to do this already and had forgotten because I was having technical difficulties before the show. So I appreciate all you guys who have been gracious enough to wait around. So let's see. I was told he clarified this somewhere. Maybe it's under Skylar's. I'll look in his replies really quick. But so yeah, here we go. All right. So here is the rankings. You got number 1 Baylor and number 1 Utah and number 1 Utah State or Iowa State all tied for first place. You've got Arizona, Kansas State, and Texas Tech tied for 4th place. TCU and BYU tied for 7th place. Cincinnati and Kansas are 9. You've got Houston 11, UCF 12, Colorado 12, Oklahoma State 14, Arizona 15, and West Virginia 16. Phil still says this. They are picked 14th by Lindy's, Athlon, and FPI, and I have them 16th. That is a 2-spot difference, not very much. Thanks, Skylar. They will be in the same area in the Big 12 media poll as well. And after last season's Big 12 results, that is a good sign for West Virginia. Interesting, to say the least, right? West Virginia being totally counted out here by all the national publications, which, to Phil Steele's credit, even admits actually not bad. Not actually not very much of a bad thing, is it? As a matter of fact, in the past, that's shown to be a pretty damn good thing. So I'll take it. And a side of guac, you know? I mean, look, at the end of the day, we all know Arizona State was picked last year. They did pretty dang good. We know what happened with Neil Brown and company when we were picked really low a few years ago. We had a 9-win year. So we know that these don't mean anything, but they give us something to talk about. So I'm going to give you my reasons why I think West Virginia won't be rated dead last. I'm going to bet money on this. This will not happen. So anyways, Rich Rodriguez, you know, he defies rebuilding narratives, in my opinion. He does. His last place leans heavily on West Virginia's roster overhaul. And Rodriguez has a history of thriving in year one. At West Virginia in 2001, he went 3-8. That's true. But he upset number 17 Rutgers and set the stage for a 9-4 season in 2002. At Jacksonville State, he led them to a 9-4 FBS debut in 2023 in their first year in the FBS. That's pretty rare, right? His ability to install a system quickly and rally players around his hard-edged culture suggests that I think we won't flounder in the 2025 year one. Now, another thing is he's never gotten this much talent all at once in a year one, ever. Not this much. Like, we've got some pretty good players coming in. Some we have to wait and see on. I get that. But he didn't take over a program that was in need of a total rebuild in a lot of different ways, like from what Neil Brown had left behind from what we have in the practice facility from what we have culturally and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not you take over bad programs. This wasn't exactly bad. It just wasn't good. So things had to be blown up, and a lot of the players had to be retooled and this and that. That's fine, but like I say all the time, Rich Rodriguez just did this last year at Jacksonville State. And no, it's not the Big 12. You're correct. That's why they lost 3 to get to 0-3 to start the year and then won 8 games in a row. But they didn't get to play a weaker schedule like we get in the first 2 games of the year this year to tune up. So I think we're going to have a chance to go. I think we'll definitely be 1-0, and then Ohio we should be 2-0 because I'm told they're not very going to be very good this year. Now, a few years ago, this Ohio won back-to-back 10-win seasons, so it would have been much different if we were playing one of them squads, obviously. But this is a beaten down Ohio team, I'm told, that's got a ton of roster turnover just like us, and we've got the higher level of talent, so we should win out. But you never know with college football. But I will bet on us being 2-0 headed to Pitt, and then all bets are off for that game. I don't care if there's new players or not. Those kids will feel like they've been a part of this rivalry as long as we have, even though a lot of them are just getting here leading up to that game. By the time the game kicks off, Jamoy Robinson's going to be ready to absolutely kill the Pitt quarterback, whoever it is. I don't really care if it's the kid from last year, whoever it is, whoever it's going to be, as long as they're healthy, won't be healthy after the game. Okay. That's kind of obvious, right? I feel like. So here's another thing. West Virginia's tough. He said West Virginia had a tough 2024 schedule under Neil Brown, and that the 25 slate is a little more favorable. And you look at it, you've got early games to get against Ohio and Robert Morris. That's great. And then you have some Big 12 matchups that are kind of in your favor, in my opinion, anyways. Let's get to the schedule really quick. So obviously you've got after Pitt, you go to Kansas on a road game. That's a 50-50 game at best, I think, because on the road, tough. And I think Kansas could be good next year. Utah coming to Morgantown, that's a game I can't wait to see. And, Rice-Eccles Stadium is very loud. I think we'll rival that in Morgantown on the 27th. You go to BYU on October 3rd, and who knows what they're going to look like after the quarterback debacle they've had this offseason, but they're still going to be pretty good. You get a UCF team at home that I think some people feel like could be a sleeper team this year, so I wouldn't count them out. TCU is another team people think could be a sleeper. Houston is, I think, in year 2 of their build. But I don't think they're more talented than us. I think we should win that game. Colorado is going to be unique in Morgantown. That's going to be one heck of an atmosphere. Then you go to Arizona State, and then you've got Texas Tech at home, who is definitely the most talented team in the league. There's no doubt about that. So I get it. I just don't think that we're last place. And I will go ahead and pick our schedule. But I got a couple other points to make first before we do that. So, looking at, let me get back to it here. So I think our transfer portal haul is ranked 9th, right, on Rivals. And you've got players. Andy Staples actually called Ben Bogle a potential star the other day, by the way. I'm going to tell you guys this. How many people in here know that I've been on Ben Bogle for literally over since he committed? Since the very first day I watched his first snap, I said he's going to be a star for us. I just want to keep reminding people of that, because when Ben Bogle turns out to be that, I want a little credit. Forgive me if I'm wrong. John Lewis is another one that I like his tape after rewatching some of it. I think he's got a chance to make an impact next year. He's just somebody I hadn't mentioned yet that I wanted to mention. But, obviously, if you're looking at the entirety of the portal haul, I mean, there are guys on there that we'll start with the quarterbacks. Obviously, Jalen Henderson's a big time ad. He could be very good if he could be what he was at Texas A&M for a few games. We'll see. If not, it'll be Nico, and I have faith in either one of those guys. But we need one of them to hit big if we're going to be good. Now, if we're just not going to be last, we need one of them to be average or serviceable. Just run this offense because Jaheim White and Sincere Bowers are going to take over along with Jalen Knighton and probably some Ty Edwards mixed in and maybe even some Clay Ash. I'll tell you what, Clay Ash looks good. This running back room is so hard to. It's the hardest room on the team to pick between, honestly. But if you're making me do it, I've got to put Sincere Bowers at number 2. And if after everything and him being eligible for us in 2025 and everything now, it's just such a huge deal. If you haven't went and saw Sincere Bowers yet, I highly suggest you go watch his tape or just his highlights even. It's so good. Gosh, it's so good. Okay. So at the running back spot, I think we are more than good to have a huge year. Tight end, Grayson Barnes, Greg Ginross, Ryan Ward. I think we got 3 good guys there. The offensive line's the hardest, I know who the players that are going to be good in the running back room are. At offensive line, I just talked about this on the last show. I really don't know. Like, if you told me that, let's say you told me that Aiden Bustle, Donovan Haslam, Walter Youngbear, Michael Clay, and Nick Cray or the starting 5, I wouldn't be shocked. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those situations where it could be any of these. Like, there's literally 15 guys. Well, yeah, 15 guys, maybe more. I'd say there's probably closer to 18 guys here that you could convince me that could play because of the quality of transfers they brought in. Like, they brought in a bunch of guys that are pretty good. Maybe not anybody that's elite, at least that we know of. Maybe they'll turn into that. But they brought in some like a Carson Lee, or like I've told you guys on the offensive line, Aiden Bustle's my pick for superstar, but we'll wait till we get there, see if I'm wrong. We got a bunch of guys that have played a lot of football. Carson Lee, 1,100 snaps. Walter Youngbear, over 1,000 snaps. Tykes Crawford started at Arkansas. Malik Agbo's played at Texas, which is high competition. Xavier Bosley was an All-American in this system at Jacksonville State. We got Lanny Livingston and Nick Cray, who played some football. And then you've got guys like Aiden Bustle, who I showed you guys the tape, were whipping people's ass at Tennessee all offseason last year, or not offseason, all during the season last year as a second-team player. So, and I got the tape. I watched it for myself in practice. And then we looked up live who he was going against. He was going against NFL players, in one-on-one reps and absolutely dump trucking them. Like over and over again, we saw it. So Aiden Bustle, to me, by far the most underrated player that nobody will ever talk about. So I just think he's going to be that good. As a matter of fact, I know he's going to be that good, but we'll get there. Jamori Robinson, Hammond Russell, Eddie Kelly, Adam Tomczyk, Asani Redwood, Jackson Beiser, Quentin Goins, Brandon Caesar, Wilson Telemack, Carter Zuliani. Like, we've got a bunch of dudes in that defensive end room. There might be 3 or 4 that are pretty good, right? Like Jamori Robinson, hands down. Hammond Russell, Eddie Kelly. I think Tomczyk has a chance to be really good. We know Asani Redwood's been around for a while. And then you got the freshmen after that. So, we got some guys there. If you're talking about defensive tackles, it's Eddie V, it's Corey McIntyre, Nate Gabriel, and Elijah Simmons. And they're all going to play, and they're all going to play a lot. And we really can't afford any of them to go down. Like, we need all 4. We got other guys that can slide down there and play, but at the end of the day, those are my guys in that room. And I'm just pointing out that we have more talent than I think people realize. Some of these guys are going to turn out to be stars or all Big 12 players, Like, I don't mean like Heisman, but I mean really good players. So, obviously, you got Reed Carrico, John Lewis, Chase Wilson, Ben Bogle, some little Ben Cutter in there. You got the true freshman or the redshirt freshman Ashton Woods coming in for North Carolina and Curtis Jones. This is linebackers and edge players. Now, you know, I think if you're looking at just straight linebackers, it's going to be Chase Wilson, Ben Bogle, with a heavy dose of Reed Carrico and Ben Cutter, and John Lewis. That's five guys. It's pretty typical in the linebacker room. On the edge, I don't know where. I don't know. You got Oxley, you got Eck, you got Siders, you got Jones, um, and then and I don't know who's going to be good out of those guys. I really don't. I love Oxley's film. I think it's very, very good. Good edge rusher. Siders was we were told he did really good during spring. I can't wait to hear more during the summer. Our nickel room and safety room is pretty damn stacked, if you ask me. I really do. By the end of the year, we're going to look back at our safety room and be like, holy shit, it was good. Jordan Walker, nobody knows about on Chattanooga. Kiki Tarnu, I think, is going to play better on Zach Alley's defense than he did in Jordan Leslie's defense. Justin Harrington was a superstar at Oklahoma in 2023. William Davis has a billion stats at Virginia Union, but we don't know how he's going to perform at this level. If he's anything like he was at Virginia Union, he'll be an All-American at this level, but I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm just saying that's how good he was down there. He was an All-American. Darren Lewis, you guys know how I feel about him. Zay Jennings could be one of the hardest hitters we have on the team, right? Caleb Gray and Jason Cross is your boys. Those guys are, I don't know what to think about, but I do think they could be good someday. It's like, I'm not really sure yet. But just the Jordan Walker, Kiki Tarnu, Justin Harrington, Will Davis, Darren Lewis, Fred Perry guys, I like all of them. I really like to certain extents and levels. Like, I think Fred Perry's really good in run coverage, not so much a pass coverage kind of guy. Kiki Tarnu was coming on last year. Harrington, if he's healthy, will be very good, maybe the best in the room, but we don't know what he's going to be, right? Darren Lewis was a five-star transfer from one outlet. I know nobody likes to give him credit, but BIP has 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm just saying. And he played professional college football. I'll never quit saying that. So I don't know, and then at corner, Michael Coach Jr. will be an all Big 12 player. I believe that just based on multiple factors. Jordan Scruggs was our second highest rated player in the cornerback room out of the portal. A lot of people think Derek Carter is going to start. Devontae Golden Nelson was good at Akron. I mean, there's a lot of guys in there. Jason Chambers and Ty Crutcher are young and up-and-comer players, especially Nick Taylor, who was at App State. Remember, he started the last 7 games of his freshman year last year. Keyshawn Robinson, Jaden Bell, Dwayne Galloway, and Kamarius Bomar are young. We'll see what happens there. So I just went on and on and on about our talent, but I'm just saying we got some depth at these positions, and I think we're going to be pretty good. Let's go to break really quick. We'll come back. We got another commit. And by the way, I'm going to finish my thought on this Phil Steele thing. We'll be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by FanDuel. And if you didn't know right now, FanDuel is doing it big with highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. And whether it's a game-winning shot, a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, and more. Fans have whatever you need to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments for you, and how could tracking them and their trends make you build your next better bet? Well, head over to FanDuel, and if you're new, that's fine. You can sign up at FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets, but you can only do it at FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. It's segment 2. Let's crack open a do, baby, and finish this thought here. So we're used to the disrespect at West Virginia. We really are. To be fair, Athlon, Lindy's, Phil Steele, all these other major magazines, they just don't know what I know. Like, I can name every single player in this roster. I can name where they went to high school or JUCO or where they transferred from. I can tell you roughly their height and weight. I can tell you roughly their skill set. I've watched every single player's tape on the roster. Like, I know what we have probably better than anybody in the world. I mean, that's how I feel anyway. So I don't fault them for not knowing what I know. And I think we've got a good team. I don't think it's going to be, there's not enough data out there for me to know exactly what we're going to be. But I do know that we're not last in the Big 12. If we're last in the Big 12, I'll probably put up my evaluator hat. I'm just going to be honest. Like, we brought in too much talent and skill to be. And look, like I said, there's a lot of quantity here, and there's some quality. The quantity, though, that they brought in is these culture fit guys, the hard edge, the try hard, the guys that are going to run through a wall for Rich Rod and maybe not have as much talent as some others would. I point out Reed Williams a lot because Reed Williams was under talented, but over hard edged and extremely smart, and was one of the best linebackers we've ever had, may ever have. Same thing about Dan Moses. Never played a lick in the league. Was the best center in college football. Why is that? Because he was a hard edged player that fit Rich Rod's philosophy and scheme, and it showed up. And we were multiple time BCS champions with guys like that, you know? Or you can go the other route. You can get a Pac-Man Jones who's a knucklehead. Absolutely. Has all the talent in the world and hard edge, but a kind of a needs some fine tuning, right? So Rich Rod will take a shot on those guys too, but what he won't take a shot on is a guy that's tapping his helmet after the second play of the game. It's not going to happen. So you can look at this transfer haul and say, "Oh my God, he's not even ranked anywhere." That's fine, but I promise you this: Rich Rodriguez is as good of a talent evaluator as I've ever evaluated. Because my job is weird. My job is to evaluate people who evaluate talent, and then judge how they evaluate talent. It's really hard to do, but it's fun. And once you get the groove of it, it's cool. By the end of the Neil Brown tenure, I swear to God, I knew guys were going to be duds some of the time. It's actually kind of sad, but they had fallen into the same pit of the same type of the same player that it doesn't surprise me that some of these guys went on to be good other places. I just don't think they knew what they needed on defense here at West Virginia. Not necessarily the offense as much. Like, they did okay there in places. Like, our offense was good enough to win with if we had any defense at all. Like, we just didn't. But yeah, on defense, like Jordan Leslie that year in 22 or whatever it was, 2022, he said, we're bigger, faster, and stronger. These are some of the best players we've gotten and all that. And that was the year where we had the worst pass defense in the country, close to it. And I'll tell you, I drank the Kool-Aid on some of them. Individually, they're pretty good players, but it was just they weren't right for what we were running. He was trying to run for a long time there until we had to move to zone coverage, man principles with guys that there's no way they should have been in one-on-one situations. There's just no way. Like some guys are better in zone, some guys are better in man, some guys can play anything you want. They were picking the wrong shit for whatever reason. So anyways, my point is to all this, even though you as a casual fan or a big fan look at Rich Rod and company and what they picked up and say, well, this player's not that good or that player's not that good, but he's not ranked or whatever. I don't care one single bit about that. If I turn on the tape and he looks good to me, that's all I care about. I don't give a shit who rated what. And that's how I look at it. And then if my eyes prove me wrong on the football field, I'll know I suck at this. But that ain't happened yet. So I'm all good with that. Are you all good with that? That's all we're talking about, man. So like I said, I personally believe it's not going to be a last place team. I'm not saying we're going to be placed first. I need more data. But by the end of the summer, I'm going to know. I'm going to have a feeling for what I think will be. And then I'll shoot it out there. Maybe it'll be 6 wins. Maybe it'll be 8. I don't know. But, I'm just going to say, right? So Vegas doesn't know more than me. They don't know more. They 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 get the data as it comes in, and then they'll know more. Like they'll know more than me after the first two games for sure. But they don't have to research every piece of tape. That's not what they. That's not even how it works for them. It's way different for them. Like they once the team plays a game and players get data out there. Yes, there's no way you can compete with them at that point because they have all the data all at once and they've got all these different people evaluating. There's no way you can keep up then. But do I think there's a guy in Vegas that pays attention to West Virginia as much as me? Well, if he does, yesterday I sat here. You were here for it. I was here from 9:30 in the morning until almost midnight doing videos. I didn't sleep a wink last night, hardly at all, because this is all I think about. So if you can find somebody that's more obsessed with this than me, good luck. I don't know if you can. All right. Let's move on here. I'm getting a little bit too big for my britches. Talking, hyping myself up too much. Um, my mom tells me competence is okay, but I don't know. I think you can overdo it and turn people off, and I don't want to do that. But when it comes to West Virginia, I'm just very passionate, as you guys know. Point is I think West Virginia is going to be much better than Phil Steele thinks, and I don't blame him for not knowing because he doesn't know what we know. That's my point. All right, let's go to break really quick. We'll come right back here, and we got another commitment, Mister. We didn't talk about him yesterday, and I'll tell you what, man, pretty good player. We'll be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. All right, guys, this has been. Sorry, that one went a little longer than I thought it was. All right, this has been pretty fun today so far, and we still got another video to do. Uh, I'd like to do it all right now, but I'm gonna have to end this, start another one. So uh be shooting for right around 9:30 or 9:40. I'm gonna jump right back into another video as soon as it's done. We got to talk about a couple other things today that have happened. So all right, so Cameron Dwire is a kid that committed yesterday, a linebacker at a Palm Beach Central, and 26th player committed on April 11th, which is, verbally, right? But he officially signed yesterday. And I realized I haven't broken him down really yet and thought, this would be a pretty good time to do it. Three-star player. He did, I think his official visit was last week. So he's 6'2", 200 pounds. He's a lean, athletic kid, and he's really ideal for that modern outside linebacker spot. I think he'll probably be able to play linebacker at multiple different positions and probably the will spot more than anywhere else. He could be a strong side guy as well in maybe like a 4-3, but we don't run a 4-3. So I think he's going to be an outside guy in our 3-3 or 3-4 scheme, right? Because I think we're going to run the variations in the 3-4 at times, from what I understand, but we'll see. And that's what Zach Alley's all about anyway. He's going to need to add around 15 or 20 pounds, in my opinion, but I think he'll get there. So he's a good player, guys. I'm going to go to the film on this one. And then we'll do the hot piss meter. So let's go to the film, share the screen with you guys. Let's catch a glimpse of Cam Dwire in action for West Virginia here. Well, not for West Virginia, but soon to be for West Virginia. Yesterday, I had to watch. I was through watching these for 10 seconds so I could get to the ad because I had so many to watch. Crazy. All right, here we go. Here he is standing up outside on the backer. Oh, yeah. What the? That was nice. Here he is here. You can see he's got he's very lean, right? But you see he's got good closing speed. Where is he now? Oh, okay. About to make a hit. Boom. Yep. He got knocked over by his own player, though, at the end. So, I mean, look, the first thing you notice about him is long and lanky. Absolutely. Not a ton of muscle, it looks like, at least from this vantage point. Maybe he's got more than I'm looking at, but I mean, if you're looking at him just as far as size, profile, yes, he fits the profile. This is where he's best, coming off the edge. That's where he's best. And you'll see it here on this play too. He's got good pass rush. A lot of these are just him running directly by the tackles. So and then as you can see, if he gets a straight line at somebody, pretty good, right? Here he is playing in the slot. That's pretty impactful. No chance to block him. Nice play there. Here he is coming on a blitz. Nicely done there. And you can see he's got good speed to get to the quarterback. This is on a reverse. So yep. So once he decides he's going, he goes and he's got, he takes great angles. He's got good speed to get there. And he seems a little more like a straight line guy. I'm not seeing a lot of wiggle in his game yet. So this is him against a 4-star player, it says. Okay, nice. Here he is playing at safety. That's pretty crazy. Would West Virginia put him at safety? I wouldn't think so, but they did in high school. Here he is coming on another blitz right through the middle. Okay, you see him change a little direction there. That's nice to see. I was trying to see him actually do some pass rush on this one because on the film that I watched, he didn't. He almost never is in that situation. He's always jumping off the edge like this. So right away, though, like one of the things you notice about him is he's got good functional strength too. Like he may not look like the biggest or strongest, and I'm not saying he's a weakling. I'm just saying he's tall and lanky. Sometimes that can be deceiving. Have you ever gotten to a fight or a wrestling match with somebody that's tall and skinny? Sometimes them boys ain't weak at all, man. My dad used to call them wiry. So that was interesting. So, anyways, this is a project, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's a bad player at all. I'm not saying that. I hope nobody thinks that. Or if Cam is watching this or does watch this, I'm not saying that at all. I think this is a good player. Not blown away here, and you guys know I'm honest about it, right? For the most part anyway, right? I try to be as objective as I can. Sometimes I get carried away, but at the end of the day, like this kid here, it depends on where they're going to play him at. Coming off the edge, he looks good at times. He's got good straight line speed. I didn't see any pass rushing moves on that film there, and on other film that I've watched, which isn't a ton. I'm not going to lie. It's like a 1/4 I watched of a game. So it's not really fair to completely and totally say it's an evaluation. But just based on first impressions, I didn't see a lot of pass rushing moves or anything off the edge. He just kind of runs, which is great. He's got good speed. He also has very good closing speed, great functional strength. So when he engages with blockers, he's stronger. Outside of that, I think he's got some things to work on from a technique standpoint and pass coverage. Some of the stuff I saw looked rough. Let's get to the hot piss meter, though. For those of you that, and I have to preface it in every episode, I'm told, if I'm going to continue to run it, this is like per my boss. So the hot piss meter is when Rich Rodriguez was hired at West Virginia and they were interviewing people asking about, could he still coach? Did he still have that fire in his belly? And that's exactly what they said. They said, oh, he wakes up every morning pissing hot. So, and like I say, as always, it kept it real. All right. So on the meter, out of 50, we've got athleticism at an 8 out of 10. I think he's 6'2", 200 pounds. And he's got some good speed, some decent agility, which is critical for covering tight ends, chasing backs, all that kind of thing. His tackling and run defense is at a 7.8. I think it's pretty good. As a linebacker, he definitely excels at reading plays, engaging ball carriers, especially if he's out on the edge against a corner or something, he's going to eat him up. He's not going to be able to block him. So that's a good thing. In pass coverage, I gave him a 7 out of 10. I think it's somewhere he needs to improve. He's about average for a high school player coming up to the Power 5. He's just got some things that he needs to get better at there. High school linebackers are often going to struggle with advanced coverage concepts, and especially Dwire. I think he may need to refine that hip fluidity in his back pedal so that he can handle slot receivers, shifty backs, things like that. And so, once he gets that down, his ranking will go up for sure. Modern linebackers got to be able to cover as much as they can tackle. And I think West Virginia is interested in Dwire because he's got the potential to be able to do that, just not yet. Football IQ and instincts, I gave him an 8.5 out of 10. A few plays I watched in the game that I watched where he was really smart, diagnosing plays and taking the right angles. That's a big part of football too, is, having a good IQ and taking the correct angle. It sounds silly, but when you're taking angles at whether you're taking, let's say you're coming on a stunt and you gotta come at the quarterback, starting that with the right angle is so important. Um, if you take the wrong angle to start with, you can make a mistake and the quarterback can easily get away, or, it's just like anything, right? If I'm throwing a pass at somebody and I lead it out too far or I don't lead it enough, it's going to be off. Same thing with when you're running at a quarterback or a ball carrier. You've got to take good angles, is what I say. It's kind of hard to, maybe there's a better way coaches explain it, but that's how I say it. Um, his pass rush and blitz ability, I gave a 7 out of 10. I think his size and athleticism suggests he can be an effective blitzer at the next level, especially like if you're talking about like a double mug concept or an A gap and edge blitz packages. But man, that frame of his, I think, he's got to obviously gain some weight there and develop some power and speed rushing moves. So, and that'll happen with proper coaching, and West Virginia's defensive coaches will do a good job with that. But like if you're talking about, you know, is he a fit in the system? I think so. And the fact that they've got him, that implies some aptitude here. So we'll see what happens with that. But at the end of the day, I think he's not going to be a primary edge rusher, but I think his overall athletic profile suggests he can contribute in blitz packages. He can be a good, he can be, projects to be good in both areas, pass and running, right? So, but I've got a total composite score of 80 or 38.7 out of 50. So, congratulations to Cam, and hopefully he proves me wrong and has a much bigger score at West Virginia than that. Not that that's a bad score out of 50. I'm just saying we've had better here in recent days, and definitely not saying he's a bad player though. So, what were we at, 37? Yeah. What we're going to do, guys, now is we're going to end this show, and then we're going to come right back. So if you guys don't have anything else to do, I have to create the media for it. I got to make the thumbnail and I got to get it rolling. But we had a big thing happen today, and I think I want to talk some basketball. Ross Hodge did an interview with the Field of 68 host, and we got one of our guys in, somebody that I thought was not going to be eligible is now eligible. We're going to talk about that too. It's big news, and I'll talk about it next on Locked On West Virginia on the next episode. So if you can wait 20 minutes, I'll be right back, and we'll talk about it. Trying to outwork everybody here. Hope you appreciate it. I wish somebody would come on and help me not talk so much. My voice is like, help me, help me. So I'll probably have to take a drink of tea or something with honey, but we'll get back to it here in a minute, guys. On the next episode of Locked On West Virginia. I'll see you then.